will, thank you.
Yeah, it's used.
Should be a story here?
There's always a story. You might want to leave that there.
What?
Vibrations might be.
No, I do. Look at you here.
And Bisbee have to say about the incident at Safeway and what's going on. This was in my mind and what's been going on since the incident. I know some people here tonight want to express some historical incidences and things. I'm not going to try to quell that, but that is not why I call this meeting. It's to see what we're doing moving forward with what happened and how we can prevent it from happening. Again, I'm not here to discourage anybody to say anything that they want to say. And very shortly, I'm going to stop talking. And the reason for this meeting is to listen to what you have to say. A couple of things right off the start. I do not have a copy of the incident report. One is ready for me to pick up. So I personally am not able to answer any questions if anybody has read that report about the whys and what-fors and what's in the report. I haven't seen it, so I have no answers. The police are not here, and they were told or advised not to be here for that very reason, because they may not have read the report and they may not have answers for you. So it's just best that they weren't here. But you're here, and that's what matters. I'm here to listen to what you have to say and take it to heart, and part of it will inform me going forward with how we deal with policy making, particularly with the police department going forward. I want to introduce Serena Sullivan, the other ward, one city council person, and she's going to give you some parameters. Me. Thanks.
Thanks, Serena.
Thank you. Hello? Okay. Thanks everybody who's here today, and thanks Jean for arranging this meeting to address some of the concerns that we've been receiving. And again, that is the reason why we called the meeting, because there's been a lot of concerns and people with things to say, and we just wanted to allow them an opportunity to say them in a public forum so that we might be able to better answer those questions. Not at this time. There may be some questions we can answer now, but we've been advised by our attorneys not to answer anything specific at this time. The purpose of today's meeting, as I've outlined on the sheets that are going around today, is to gather your input on the perception of the police-involved shooting that occurred on April 22nd, and how that perspective may also apply to overall perspective of the City of Bisbee Police Force. And we hope to clear up any misconceptions that might exist. We feel it's very important to talk about this issue and work through it together as a community in an effort to aid in the healing process on both sides. It's our mission to conduct a constructive dialogue today that's solution-oriented and that yields potential ideas for possible policy changes within the police force, as our policies are currently being rewritten to come into compliance with federal, state, and local laws. We do have some ground rules for the meeting today, and we want to keep it as controlled as possible. We don't want people yelling things out from the audience. We want to take all questions, so if you have a question or a statement, we just ask that you come towards the microphone and make that. We also have a sign-up sheet going around, so if you want to sign up, you can do that, or else just come towards the microphone and state your question or statement. We'll give everybody at least 3 minutes to speak, so please do wait your turn and listen respectfully while others are speaking. We will be documenting again all the questions so that we can answer those at a future time. And we do ask that you keep your comments as respectful as possible at all times. And as you're listening to others, if you hear someone state your comment, if they've already stated what you wanted to say, please don't repeat it to the extent that it wastes time. You can come up and say that you agree with so-and-so's comment or restate it briefly, but we don't want to drag things through the dirt. Again, please remain courteous while others are speaking. And lastly, if you have a report, if you want to report a complaint of something that you've witnessed or experienced in the past, there is a formal complaint process that's available through the city clerk. Also, the city police station has those forms available. And that would allow you to state your complaint in a uniform fashion per our policies, and then they would be received and formally investigated. All complaints must be formally investigated. So if you do have something of that nature, we would hope that you would go through the public process and fill out the form. Again, those are available at the City of Bisbee Police Station and the clerk's office in City Hall. And that includes criminal acts, excessive use of force, falsification of records or reports, misuse of city property or equipment, misconduct involving city employees, and any other incident of misconduct so designated by the Chief of Police. So thank you very much. And at this time, we'll open it up to the public for anyone that has a comment to make or a question to ask. Thank you.
For Bobby Coronado. Anyway, in 2004, my friend's house was burglarized. I called the police. They would not show up. They asked me, would I secure the residence? They met no time did they come and check it out. I nailed the doors shut. 2 weeks later, Bobby Coronado and De Silva showed up at my door. They said they smelled marijuana. They said they were going to take me to the police station for questioning, or they were going to come in. One or the other. I said, no, I do not allow that. And they both went, we smell marijuana, we're coming in. And they went like this, and they footballed me through the door. 2 of them, like that. Pushed me into the wall. I have a witness, but who I'm sure she's afraid to come forward and speak, because Bobby Coronado is a very dangerous individual. And I want people to know this. I am deathly afraid of him for my life.
He's a scumbag. Death penalty.
Manny, I agree, but we shouldn't do
Please
that.
don't call anything out like that.
Let's try to keep it under control. I know how Manny feels. His brother was murdered. So I just want you to know, Manny lives next door to me. Carlos' brother. He lives right next door to me where this happened. At my residence, 412 North McKinley Avenue. And I'm sure I suffered horrible mental anguish over this crap. When I went to the police station, they denied me the police report, which today I still have not gotten because they wouldn't give it to me. And the guy said, it'll be an hour and a half, John. Do you want to just sit here and wait in the police station an hour and a half? You know, after all this crap had happened, after they pushed me into my own thing, violated my constitutional rights, and covered it up. And to this day, I have no satisfaction, no recourse, but I can tell you, I should not be afraid of the police in my neighborhood, and I'm deathly afraid of them, all of them. They band together, they go against you. They're a group, I'm one person. Do you think that's fair?
No, it's not fair. And I heard what you said, John.
Come on up, Sam.
My name is Sandra Calhoun, and I'm a resident of Ward 2. I don't feel sufficiently knowledgeable about the specific incident to be able to address that incident. But I do know that there's a lot of problems in Bisbee in perception, and I want to read my comments because I think I do better when I prepare, if that's all right. The first thing I wanted to say is it isn't us and them. It's just us. One of our police officers is a former employer of mine. Another is the child of a dear friend. I'm not interested in bashing the Bisbee Police Department, though I too have my tales. But many of them are very old, and I just never came forward, and I don't know that at this point it would be productive. But I do want to see the Bisbee Police Department become safer and more effective. And I want to address this too. I was hoping there would be a representative of the police department here, because if there is a public perception that an encounter with the police will end in violence, or somebody has to go to jail each time the police are called, community members will not call the police when they should. And so their effectiveness is reduced, and it is a negative all the way around for the community and for the police. I have a commercial driver's license, a CDL. If you are involved in an accident, someone, the police, the insurance company determines if you are at fault for the accident. If I am involved in an accident, I am held to a higher standard of care. The question posed for a CDL driver is, not what were you at fault, but was the accident preventable? In the same way as a driver that I'm held to a higher standard of care, I feel that the police department is held to a higher standard of care in a confrontation or in a conflict situation. And first responders of all kinds need to be adequately trained so that they can prevent a conflict or de-escalate one. And the rest is a lot of questions. How much crisis intervention training do police officers currently receive? I was told at one point by somebody in the community that in order to get their as-post certification, they only require 3 hours, and that doesn't seem like enough, particularly for our community. Who trains them? How effective is the training? Are there role-playing scenarios? Are there yearly refresher courses? Though training can't completely eliminate violent confrontations, I think it can go a long way toward decreasing their magnitude. If you know how to respond to a situation, you're less frightened. And police get frightened too, they're people, and I think when people are fearful, that's when confrontations escalate. In addition to crisis training, there are other exercises and activities that can A, make the police be more accessible and less threatening to the general public, and B, familiarize the officers with the community they serve, with all of us, not just the prominent ones. Are community policing activities part of the Bisbee Police Department organization's plan or policy? And if not, how can we incorporate them? So that was just what I wanted to read into the record. Thank you.
Sandra, I am glad that you posed those questions because it gives me an opportunity to let you know what we are trying to do as a community. There is a concerned citizens task force to take a look at how the homeless and how the mentally ill are treated, whether or not they're getting the services that they need, whether or not there are any type of procedures in the police manual. As a matter of fact, our next meeting will be on the 21st of July at 10 o'clock from 10 to 12 in the City Hall chambers, or the City Council chambers in City Hall. And one of the things that we have on that particular agenda is talking about the police manual, what are the procedures now, and how can we improve them? What do we need to do to service these people in our community? Because it's going to take the entire community. We want to get the awareness out to the community. We had our first meeting 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, no, a week ago. And we had a number of people from different agencies who are coming together to look at this particular issue. If you are interested in listening to what is going on, and we will have a call to the public, please come to our meeting on the 21st of July. And again, that is from 10 to 12, and it'll be in City Council chambers, it's hard to say, at City Hall. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to give me a call. You can call me at 249-7624, and I'd be happy to discuss what your issues are or what your inputs are, and make sure that we get them known to the committee. Thank you.
Recently retired chief of police after 42 years in Arizona, 15 years here locally in the Sheriff's Department. And community involvement in policing is critical for success in the community, for development of our community, for our students, our young persons, and our community to be successful and happy with the policing results. Unfortunate situations occur, such as this most recent homeless incident, where a very tragic ending occurred. But the openness of the police department, the willingness of its citizens to come together and to discuss and to hear and to try to find ways to improve is so critical for the success. Community-based policing. And this is an example of community-based policing. And I'm so proud to be a resident of Bisbee, a member of this community, and to see citizenship at work. Policing is not a perfect science. I will tell you how proud I was on Friday evening. I was on a ladder, and I don't have a lot of volume in my voice today, and I fell. And the police responded, as well as the fire department, and transported me down to the Copper Queen Hospital, where I broke several ribs. And so that's why my speech volume isn't quite what it normally is. But it was an excellent example of service and caring. And that's what I've seen over my 42 years of Arizona policing here with Bisbee. It's not perfect. The way it gets perfect is through involvement like this, participation of people who may or may not be happy with the service delivered. I was extremely happy with the service delivered to me on Friday night. I was unconscious, and they certainly didn't know who I was. But I thank them for their caring and their concern. And that's my belief that that's the service that they're trying to provide. The things and the action steps that you're taking will only help to improve that delivery of service. And thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to participate in citizenship. Thank you again.
Toronto and the Bisbee Police Department, just prior to Carlos being murdered.
That's the day after.
And anyway, so I was behind Safeway on that day that Carlos was murdered, meditating. And all of a sudden I see an officer who looked like Carlitos because he's the one that had interrogated me, going towards an encampment. But I knew it to be Carlos's encampment. And anyway, he kicked it. And at that point, then I kind of like took note. And all of a sudden I hear him say, "Get the," excuse my French, "get the F up, get the fuck up," and all of a sudden, shoot him. Cold-blooded murder. Anyway, so I'm one witness to it. I was a little ways away, I'd say maybe about 100 yards-ish away. I know 3 other people that saw the same thing. So anyway, so I welcome you to the Dog and Pony Show, and I'm glad that we live in a country with a constitution and some laws. And I look forward to the family and our community receiving justice for this. For me, what I saw is a senseless murder. I didn't know the details. I found a lot of the details since that time. So anyway, welcome to the Dog and Pony Show. Have a great day.
Okay, Donna Pulley? Want to wait? Yeah. Okay. Karen Kay Schumacher? Okay. Bill Higgins? Oh, do you have something there? You can use any of the microphones.
Well, my name is Edward Roman, and I also witnessed the shooting there of Carlos Ramirez. And I saw pretty much what he had saw. The officer walked up, after driving up to the truck, pulls up, walked down towards Carlos's, and in Boston Coroner's report, supposedly he kicks him, wakes him up, and then has this big old conversation, which never happened. The only thing that happened was him walking up, kicking Carlos, and when he sat up, he shot him. To me, it's cold-blooded murder. You know, he doesn't have a time frame for when he left the office. It wasn't him. I don't believe it was him. It was another officer, because Coronado pulled up with, right after Swan. Swan had overshot the Luna residence, went into Safeway. Bobby Coronado pulls in, almost hits a gentleman right there that was on the Luna residence trying to see the other side of the shed. And he runs over, jumps into the spot, takes the blame of it. You know, my little nephew over here, an incident happens a week later where his father's running after, you know, down to see what's going on. Border patrols pull up. Little nephew's traumatized, and the cops think he's going to shoot his dad. You know, what kind of, you know, what are they putting out there for the kids, for the media, and for everybody else, you know? Nothing but fear. I said, I don't think it's right, you know. Bob doesn't have the time frame for when he left the office, you know, going down to the incident. I don't believe he would left the office until after he was shot, personally.
Thank you, Mr. Lamar. Definitely heard you, what you have to say. The next name is Philip Estrada.
Hello. It's nice to see a big crowd of people here. That means something. And I've known Carlos since we were kids. And I've known Mr. Coronado and his family since they were kids. And it's a sad thing for all of the people who love Carlos, and it's sad for the Coronado family. And being a cop, you never know you're going to have to kill somebody. That's just how it is. And it's unfortunate this happened. There's a lot of questions I have I didn't have. Like, I never heard about witnesses. I never heard about time frames. Like, did he call for backup and wait before he went and tried to arrest him? Or, I mean, personally, this is a national problem. This ain't just like a Bisbee thing about Coronado. This is something that all over the country people are starting to realize cops need to be accountable. They need to have cameras recording stuff. They need to back up. They need to, like, shoot you in the leg before they shoot you in the heart. I mean, the guy's drunk and intoxicated. You got some distance on him. Are you that paranoid? You got to shoot to kill? I don't buy that. I think people really need to retrain their whole mentality of, you know, cops are like drug dealers. They got that same mentality of like kill or be killed, that whole adrenaline rush. You know, there's no difference in their mentality to like they want to, you know, do or die situation, and it's sad because you don't have to be that way. This is thing of, you know, being smart and don't be so hasty to kill people. And you know, I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. I never heard there was witnesses. I never heard the cops tell us exactly what happened as far as like backup and you name it. But I just think we really need to rethink this whole justice situation here. And cops all need cameras. They need to call backup. You need to don't shoot to kill instantly. I mean, you got to put the bullets, catch you like, you know, shoot in the air and see what happens first. I mean, is this looking guy going to throw a knife at you and hit you in the forehead? Probably not. I mean, you know, you're going to be a cop. Don't be a pussy and like stand up for yourself without having to shoot somebody first. It's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. I have Ruth Ann James signed up to speak next.
Hi, my name is Ruth Ann James, and I thank you for this opportunity to ask some questions that I hope at some point will be answered. In the beginning, we were told that many of our questions may not be answered today, but these questions would be noted and then perhaps researched and answered in the future. And I hope that does occur for the truth to come out so we know exactly what happened. And just for your information, a lot of the questions that are being asked do refer to incident reports, police reports, many of which are available through a public records request. So if anybody is interested, they can research how to request these documents. So hopefully everybody will have access to what the investigation was. And what surprised me was that very soon after the shooting of Carlitos Ramirez on April 22nd, is that it was only maybe about 6 weeks after, maybe 7 weeks, that the deputy county attorney came out with a letter that most people have seen, and it has been posted, and in which case the Deputy County Attorney declared that this was a justified shooting. That is a very, very quick time frame for such a conclusion to be made. It's my opinion that perhaps the Deputy County Attorney did not have all the information that he probably should have in order to make this determination. And perhaps some of the information that he did have and did review may not have, was not completely credible. From some of the information that I've personally reviewed, I found lots of discrepancies. In statements, in witness statements, in what was said, and in many forms and fashions, but I don't want to go into that because that's not something that can be responded to today. My basic question was, why wasn't an outside agency brought in to do an independent investigation? Wouldn't that have been prudent, especially given Bobby Coronado's history of prior shootings, prior allegations of excessive force? It's my understanding the three agencies that were involved in the investigation were the Bisbee Police Department, of which Bobby Coronado is an employee, Cochise County Deputy Department, and Sierra Vista. It's my understanding that some officers for the county sheriff were also previous Bisbee Police Department employees. It's also my understanding that perhaps there are crossover employees with Sierra Vista. These men and women in law enforcement protect each other, and rightfully so, and we can all understand that. So it's for that very reason you don't ask one brother to investigate their brother. You're not going to get an independent investigation. The questions that are going to be asked are really not going to be the questions that are going to lead to the findings that would illuminate the truth. Give me just 1 second. The other questions that I have is, looking at some of the public records that have become available, it's still unclear to me who was the first officer on the scene after the shooting. I know we can't answer that question now, but hopefully that could be a question that could be answered. And where was the knife that Carlitos allegedly had found? Where was that found in relation to his body? There were, in these reports that I have read, the knife was here, the knife was there. Again, I don't want to get into specifics, but those were also some discrepancies. I would also like to know, was Carlitos shot on private property? And if so, was he on that private property lawfully? I think these are very important questions that we should be asking about the investigation, who did the investigation, and what the results were. The investigation seemed very one-sided. Softball questions were asked of the people involved, and as a result, we got a very quick letter from the Deputy County Attorney saying this shooting, this homicide was justified. Thank you.
The purpose of this meeting was to find solutions to some of the problems we're having. But I'm not hearing that from any of you guys. All you guys are doing is giving us examples of a few bad people who may or may not. They did the investigation. I see no purpose whatsoever on why we're meeting today. If you want to change something, then bring those up. Don't just bring this shooting up. How can we change procedures? They are trained. They have training all the time. How can you say, well, they took 16 hours or something to investigate, 16 days to investigate? Well, how do you know that's not enough time? Were you trained? I mean, every situation is different. And Bobby is not a bad cop. So, if he was, he wouldn't be on the force for as long as he was. Is that correct?
They're all corrupt.
I mean, do you think he would be on the police department for as many years as he has been if he was a bad cop, and now you're making him out to be a shooter, a murderer, everything else? This has got to stop. It's got to stop. You guys got to go to your city council members and put in your suggestions. You guys got to stop slamming this guy, because it brings nothing. Nothing. So why are you guys doing this? You wanted
Because he committed murder.
That was not in the presentation at the beginning. The presentation at the beginning was to come together as a community to see where we can make improvements. And that has not been said. All that has been said is Bobby's this, Bobby's that, Bobby's this, Bobby. No, I haven't heard any solutions. I've heard things, well, it may have taken this long, or we don't think they did a good job. Well, how do you know? Are you training? I'm telling them who did a good job or who didn't do a good job?
They need to stop scratching each other's back.
No, no. We're all humans. We're all humans.
We all should be tried the same.
He was already tried. It was already case closed. You guys have got to go on.
Ms. Cornell, you're kind of provoking the crowd. But I do hear what you said. I just don't want to get anybody riled up.
I'm just saying. At the beginning,
He's a murderer.
Please, if you continue, we're going to have to ask you to leave.
Those type of comments that shouldn't be said anymore. It's over.
Not over.
No, it is.
You're still on the board.
That's right.
There hasn't been a trial yet. There's going to be a trial. And all the evidence, the ones that the police them.
Hey, stop. This is no crosstalk. Stop. Not another word. Stop. I'm not saying that you can't say what you want to say, but that's exactly why we're here, is to get suggestions. John Hanson, council member from Ward 2, already talked about the committee and one meeting that we've already had. And I say we the city of Bisbee, police department, community development, public works, fire department, we the city of Bisbee, we're working on this. And another part, at the very beginning of this meeting, we talked about people shouting things out while somebody else is talking. And we're going to ask the next person that does do that feels they need to do that, we're going to ask you to leave. We're not going to force you to leave, but we're going to go back to the rules of the meeting. Because if you can't keep quiet while somebody's talking, you're going to be asked to leave. Because if you're talking, you're not listening. And that's the two best parts of a conversation, the best one being listening. And we're asking you to talk to us with solutions or suggestions. So please, talk to us.
Agree with amen to what Gene said. We're yelling and screaming at each other here. It's not what this is all about. We're not going to establish the truth or falseness of anything. I'm accused to be a defense lawyer. I've seen this movie 1,000 times. Let's not make this something that's resolved by conflict and adversariness. A lot of the things I'm hearing seem to be a statement of patronage more than a statement of how to fix things. So I think if we can just slow down a little bit, it is a miracle that in the town with so many more chiefs than Indians, that we got a lot of people here that are just trying to talk together. That's all I've got.
About the shooting, but I would like to say that I think cops have been given by our elected officials undue privileges. I remember when the police asked, they were going to trade a Hummer in for a car, and the city council voted them instantly $6,000. There was no question. If teachers had asked for a new car, forget it. They never would have gotten it. You know, when we come to looking at Stone Garden, the city council votes for Stone Garden. Well, Stone Garden is military, and when you looked at that equipment that the police had, it's military, and it is about killing. And that's unfortunate. I think the police are an essential part of any community. And I'm not trying to say, you know, get rid of police. What I'm trying to do is have police be held to the same standards that we're all held to. And not just giving money here, not just giving money there. Understand that the police, and this comes from just lost brain cells, so forgive me. You know, police academies are now military academies. So the police you have coming out of the police academies now are trained to kill. I mean, because it's military, and this comes out of the chief of police, whose name I can't remember, he just retired. You will not, Dan. Yeah, so, I mean, we have to think about who the police are now, and how can we bring, and this goes out through, it's worldwide. Police are just there to protect the status quo. Usually, 95% of the time, they're used to break up labor unions. That happened here, you know, when Phelps Dodge was here. Police are used not in a way that's constructive for them or for us, because they are the ones who are first responders. They are the ones we ask to help us. And we don't want to be afraid of them, and they don't want to be afraid of us. You know, so how do we take these people now who are more and more trained by in military ways? How do we retrain? How do we work together to have police be part of a community that are not going to shoot a homeless guy? Because that was clearly not necessary. So that's all. Thank you very much.
I'm a native named Ralph Farah. I have a great concern for both sides. I've worked in mental health for over 30 years. I'm still employed with Chiricahua, and I retired from CBUS. So I've had a real opportunity to work in crisis situations. I worked at the psychiatric health facility in Benson for over 20 years. And we had all kinds of situations. And what we're talking about here today, for me, mental health is a big piece of the puzzle, because I know that a lot of our homeless people, a lot of the people such as Carlos that are on the streets, they're falling through the cracks. A lot of them are off medications, a lot of them aren't being seen regularly by their doctors, they're not taking medication. There's just a lot of things that are not in their favor, and it's just sad. The other thing is family. You know, where are we as family? We all have family members that need a lot of support, a lot of TLC, a lot of attention, and they don't have to have mental problems to need help. There are just a lot of situations, unemployment, you name it, it's out there. And so, you know, we just need to come forward as a community and be supportive of one another. I know Eddie here, Roman, he witnessed what took place, and you know, nobody knows 100% what took place. But the thing is that, you know, our hearts go out not just for Carlos, but also for Bobby. You know, it's hard for everybody, for all of the family, friends, everyone involved. I just want to share, you know, our concern for our community here. I'm involved in our church, St. Patrick's Parish up here. We do a lot for the homeless. We provide meals through St. Vincent de Paul. We just can't do enough for people in need, you know. And we all need each other, you know, but we all need to come together as a piece of the puzzle. You know, instead of having this tug of war and pulling in opposite directions, we need to cooperate. We need to work together. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I don't know if any of you have had this experience, but oftentimes over the last 20 years, I have had to kind of help intervene with people who have had accidents or been in distress and call the Bisbee, the emergency responders. And if any of you have had this experience, I can tell you there isn't a more responsible, more respectful, more caring group of men or women than I've ever met than these responders. It's a standard that we all as a city should be proud of. If they don't make judgments, they don't place blame, they do their job, they do it with great sensitivity and great respect. And I think that's the kind of standard we want from our police department above all, is that same standard where everyone is treated equally. And it's a danger, unfortunately, in all communities where some people are treated or perceived differently than others. And that kind of tends to, subconsciously maybe give people license to treat other people differently than they might treat someone else. If you look at the way our first responders treat everybody, it's unquestionably the same standard applied to everyone across the board all the time, at least in my experience. And I think that's the kind of behavior that we, as a city, expect from all of the city employees and from each other. And I want to say how proud I am to be in a city where these many people care this much about each other. Thank you.
Okay, well, I was going to...
So I just, I'm so glad to see everybody here. And a lot of you responded to a Facebook post that I made Saturday regarding an incident that just occurred with me in Don Luis with Angel Ramirez. And I've been involved with the neighborhood block watch in Don Luis for a couple of years now. And we've been concerned in talking about the lack of follow-up care for a lot of the people that are living in the city-owned property that is right behind the Safeway. And Carlos, although he was camped on his family's property, was part of this group of people, and we all know that Carlos and many of the people that were living there had addiction problems, and they were being continued to be given drugs by people that are allowed to continue selling them drugs in Bisbee. So I'm not as concerned about making a judgment about whether Officer Coronado acted appropriately or not. I'm concerned about an incident that I just experienced Friday afternoon with Angel, who was at the end of my street on Head Start Way in Don Luis, clearly upset and using the dumpsters, the recycled dumpsters, and he was going through the recycled dumpsters and throwing things around, and had set up a little living room situation for himself to sit there with furniture that had been discarded by the dumpster. And I was walking down the street and I saw him there and started picking up some of this stuff that he had been throwing around, and he assaulted me. And I said, Angel, what's wrong? What's going on? And he just started throwing things at me, furniture that he was using. And I didn't want to call 911. I did not want to have a police officer come. So I walked away. I called 911 and reported that Angel was at that location. And I did not want an officer to respond. I just wanted it to be on record that Angel was at that location acting out 20 minutes later, when I came back with my vehicle, I was going down Naco Highway to pick up my vehicle that was at the repair shop. 20 minutes later, when I came back, Angel was in my front yard. He was coming out of my front yard, let's put it that way. And my front window was smashed with 3 fist-sized rocks that had been thrown through the window. He went over to a trailer at the corner across the street from my house at 306 Washington Street, where I know that he goes quite often. I walked over there because the woman who lives in that trailer was getting into her vehicle and leaving, and Carlos was in that area. And I asked her what was going on, and she said, yeah, he just told me that he broke the front window. And I said, well, I don't want to call 911 on this. I didn't want Angel to be in that situation. I spoke to one of the homeless advocates who happens to be living right next door to me. And he said, no, Donna, you have to report this. So I did. I called 911. Officer Long showed up. I did not want to press charges. He just took the report. He saw what had happened. The problem is, in my estimation, is that many of these people that have emotional crises or mental illnesses are not getting the help they need. Calling 911 doesn't get them the help they need either. So that's what we have to deal with. That's what we're faced with right now. How are we going to make change in dealing with these instances like I just had yesterday, Saturday with Angel? I don't want Angel to be put back in jail. He had just been released from jail. He is not going to get the mental health care that he needs. That's where we are right now with this. So I would like some of you others that had responded to my post on Facebook. You were there. You were in the car with Lupe when I came up. Are you Lupe's mother? You were there in the car when I spoke with you on Saturday. So what is your opinion about the situation? That's all I have to say.
My name is Judy Lutgren. I've lived in and out of Bisbee for 12 years. I've defended people in state and federal courts for 25 years as a public defender and as a private attorney. And I have had my own family seriously impacted by mental illness. I lost my youngest sister to mental illness 18 years ago and spent the last month grieving it because it's the anniversary. And I know that everybody that loved Carlos and everybody that loved Officer Coronado are going to be affected by what happens every day for the rest of their lives. After my own family was affected by serious mental illness and always having clients who have addiction and mental health issues, about 50% of the time, those two issues go hand in hand. I have spent so many extra hours trying to connect people with services. In Cochise County, and I don't think that 95% of the people that work for the local law enforcement offices are even aware of this. But the people that you call when someone is having a mental health crisis is nurse-wise. I have the phone number. You can write it down. It's run by Simpatico. Simpatico is the regional behavioral health authority for Cochise County. They just got that in narcotics. People from home, what are you doing as an addict? And ultimately they let him go because he said, no, I'm not having suicidal thoughts anymore, and that was that. It takes a community to help one person who has mental illness. You have to be willing to step up and make that report and sign the affidavit. If there's a drug house across your street, you have to contact law enforcement. You can do it anonymously, and if they are not responding, then that needs to go to their boss, and to his boss, and to his boss. That's unacceptable. Methamphetamine and heroin are in our high schools, they are ruining families, they are killing kids, and it leads to these kinds of things. You have to vote. Part of the funding problem is that so much of taxpayer money goes to the Arizona Department of Corrections to warehouse people. The purpose of incarceration for adults in Arizona is no longer rehabilitation. It is punishment. The juvenile justice system has a little of rehabilitation, but not the adult system. So we warehouse people, and we don't help them, and then we set them loose, having gone to crime college. They don't know where to go for help. The funds are very limited. And unfortunately, the tough on crime thing gets people votes. Our legislators need to know that we want them to be smart on crime, not on crime. There's a difference. And the money that we are flushing down the streets on warehousing people, if it were put at the front end with schools and mental health services and substance abuse services, it would be a much better place next year and 5 years from now and 10 years from now. Please contact National Alliance on Mental Illness, www.nami.org.
My heart of what I want to say and what I should keep quiet. First of all, I would really like to thank Manuel, Carlos' brother, for bringing on such a wonderful funeral that I didn't think was necessary. And I was wrong. It softened a lot of hearts, but it made people aware. And I thank you, Manuel, for pursuing the last words of Carlos. And I'm concurring on a couple of comments that different people have said because I was going to say. One person said that you think somebody's been in the services for 18, 20 years, you all know what they're doing. How many of you had a teacher that's been there for 18 or 20 years and you wish they'd have moved on? They've had their day with kids. Sometimes officers have their day with some of us. I have some of us in my family, not just Carlos. And this was just recently given to me. This is what
it was Coronado. I knew in my heart that it was because of his hot head, his hot temper. He almost left me for dead February 7th of 2008. He was dragging my body with less than a 10% chance of living, and then the EMTs, fought with him in order to, take me to the hospital and get my own care. Yes, I did try killing myself. I've suffered through depression. I was born with bipolar, and also I have PTSD from a few situations that have happened to me when I was 8 years old, on to 12. So anyway, yeah, I do suffer from mental illness. And I know that Carlos was in pain. He was hurt. He didn't know how to deal or cope with that pain. And sometimes, most of the time, people get into drugs that don't know how to cope, that don't have money for counseling, for a therapist, for all of that. I never got help at all. That's why I was in the justice system as a child growing up, But what I do want to say is that if it was Coronado, I do believe that it was a murder. It was a straight murder. How many times has he beat women up here in Old Bisbee? One, which sued the city for $50,000, $70,000, and he's still on the streets. What is it with Coronado that they haven't fired him yet? I mean, seriously. I mean, this is an ongoing thing. Carlos's death is the first murder, you know, but there's ongoing assaults. I mean, he gets away with everything. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Very well said.
He was gonna whip my ass, this and that. He got personal with my life and everything else. I stepped out of the vehicle. I said, put your bag and everything else inside the vehicle and we can handle this like grown men. That's when he grabbed his gun and said, we're not doing this right now. So after that, I went and talked with, at the time, he's retired now, with Officer Maddox. A police report was made. Ben Reyna was supposed to get back with me. Never got back with me. Carlos Moreno has a lot of complaints against him for harassing people like that. Not all cops are bad cops. There's just a few of them. Carlos in particular. June 25th, my two little boys were fighting. One of my little boys is 12, the other is 9. They're both the same height. They're both probably 60 pounds if that. They were fighting, they were beating kids. Carlos came in the room, grabbed my little boy, put one down, grabbed my little boy Carlos and choked him out, threw him around like a rag doll. I wasn't going to say anything. Or call 911 because I was scared. He's the one that called 911 on himself, and I was at All-Star practice. The Bisbee PD showed up. A couple cops looked at my son. He had bruises all over his neck and scratches from a grown man that's probably 250 pounds, 46 years old, that tossed my 12-year-old son around like he was a grown man, like my size. I'm scared. The Bisbee PD dispatched the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department took pictures of my son, measurements on his neck. CPS got involved, not CPS, but Child Protection Services got involved. I've had my kids since then. Last week on Tuesday, they were taken away from me from Officer Moreno and his girlfriend, which is the mother of my kids. And I haven't seen them since. They were scared to go home. The only reason why I'm up here is because he keeps getting away with things like this and nobody says anything. And I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to call the cops. But I'm just concerned for my kids' safety, my safety, because after he harassed me the first time, his son, which is a Bisbee police officer, started harassing me. Robert Reyna started harassing me, pulling me over for no reason. It's cops like him that need to get dealt with. He has multiple encounters like this, and like one of the sheriff's officers told me, you know, right now it's in the Cochise County Sheriff's Department's hands. They hand it over to the prosecutor. It's disorderly conduct, domestic violence, assault on a minor under the age of 15. And the sheriff told me, you know what, it's going to them, but ain't nothing going to get done. He's all going to be honest with you. He's all nothing's going to happen. He's all because a lot of Bisbee officers are protected, and he's one of them. Nothing ever happened when he didn't even pull me over. He just pulled up and started harassing me. In my heart, I know nothing's going to happen. I wish there was justice for my son because now he's terrified, but he's over there living with them right now. Not by choice, but, I haven't seen my kids since then. Everybody that knows me, I always have my kids. I'm a great father. I've made mistakes in the past, but cops like him shouldn't be cops. There's things that they gotta uphold and protect people, and I don't feel protected. Thank you. God bless both sides of the family and the incident with the Tornado family here in Mary's County. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just say that, huh? You want to say that with me? If you want to. Okay.
I've heard everything that's been spoken tonight, and if I can recap a little bit, that the police department and their policies are being looked at, are being updated, and we're working on that. It's a big problem that I've heard this afternoon. Also, follow through. People want to hear and see and understand that whatever it is that has been, somebody's filed a complaint, where is it? Where is it? What's going on with it? As far as the anecdotes and the history, where I'm coming from, the city manager and the police chief are in charge of whatever comes down, whatever happens with the police department and individuals. As far as the things that I've heard people talk about, I promise you that I will ask if the city manager, at the very least, the police chief, that if this is a culture that has been going on, you need to look me in the eyes and you need to tell me that this isn't happening anymore. Or, I mean, this is the whole reason why we're here today, is to get your feeling of what's going on and what's not going on. And we've heard it. What can we do? We can ask more questions. We can be more involved. And I promise, and I've done this, many times in public forum, I promise that I will ask these questions of people. And just the fact that we're asking questions means that we're watching. And there's a different group of people watching what's going on. People that want answers. So we're going to push for those answers. So all of these questions that have been asked.
I just want to follow up on what Jean said, that you have a complaint. We ask that you follow the procedure, which is getting a complaint form from the city clerk, from the city of Bisbee Police, make your own copy of it so it's documented for yourself, and turn it in. Legally, we have to follow up on those investigations. So if you have a complaint like the ones that have been expressed, it won't do you any good to come and express it or quietly say it on Facebook or behind doors. That's not the way things can change or be dealt with and improved. We ask that you just follow the procedure that is in place to correct those kinds of things and file a complaint. And I do believe Melanie has one more thing to say, and then we're going to go ahead and close it right after that. Thank you all for coming, and God bless.
I will be honest with you, on Thursday, I was at the candles at Safeway, where the sign is, and I was fixing the candles to be relit for the rest of the week or whatever, and I was just prior to cleaning his camp where he had stayed, and I clean it every week when kids would go roast marshmallows at the camp. All I know is Carlos Moreno came up to me, and right after, down at the thing, I'm sitting there cleaning the candles and whatnot, and he gets out of his car and he asked me, is that your car up on the hill? And I said, yes. And he says, oh, I thought you were 4x4. And I go, no, I'm cleaning the candles. And he says, oh, okay, well, I got you. Well, then I leave 20 minutes later, I go down the way, there he is following me, and another Bisbee police officer coming by our neighborhood. Not even an hour later, somebody shot at my car. Hit the car with I'm sure it was a high voltage pellet gun of some kind. And it put the fear in me, and I went out of town because I wasn't sure of what the arrangement was. And I'm not sure who it was. I didn't get a chance to see, but I was outside immediately. And I feel in my heart that it was the Bisbee police officer. I have no idea. There is no protection. I feel that, but God is the only one. And the God, and there's been other gunshots, and God will protect us, I believe, but there is the Bisbee people that we need to speak on it, and I should have made a report, like the lady said. So please don't be scared to put it on paper. Thank you.